Hello and welcome to the AST News Network. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Brad.
And I'm Steven. Our top story today is a look at the stock market, which absolutely skyrocketed today. Here's Sarah with the report.
That it did, Steven! The Dow Jones climbed an astonishing 7,8400 points, while the Nasdaq climbed only 4,978 points. And last but not least, the S&P climbed only 500 points. Now back to you guys.
Thank you, Sarah. And today, the housing market has reached an all-time low. The market has declined yet again with the average selling price of $175,000.
Thank you, Steve. Now for a special report, we now turn to Fred Rogers with the Political Junkie Weekly Report.
Thank you, Brad. Hi, I am Fred Rogers, and today I am joined by Teresa, a local public official. Thank you for joining me.
Pleased to be here today.
Well, thank you for your time, and we're going to have just a short and sweet interview, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Alrighty, well, I am going to get right started, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Okay, now, my first question for you, if you could, for all those out there who may not know who you are or what you do, can you just give us sort of a background, just an introduction into who you are?
Absolutely, and thank you again. My name is Teresa, and I've been on the school board here for our local school district for the last 5 years. Just recently won a re-election for the next 4 years. And our school district has 7 board members, and we together have worked very well at trying to establish goals for our district. In my private life, I guess, when I'm not working as a school board member, I'm a teacher at one of our local colleges, and I also work in radiology.
Well, very good. Thank you. And now, specifically your job for the second question, what is it that you do exactly? Now, you said you are a member of the school board.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said you do work in a group, it's not just yourself. Can you explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. The primary role and function of our school board is to hire a superintendent and empower her or him to be able to guide our district. And so what we do is we adopt and set policy and direction for the entire district. So she reports, currently it's a she reports directly to us, the school board, and we continue on from there. Her job then becomes acting out what we have decided should be the goal of the district. And so we've got a strategic plan and a strategic roadmap in place that help continue things with our district.
Well, very good. So you're working as a team then?
Absolutely. It's
Okay.
always a team effort.
Okay. Now, can you explain along with that, what is your, if you had to pick one favorite part of your job, like what makes you get up in the morning and go to work every day? What do you enjoy most about what you do?
Well, you know, as a public education advocate, I would have to say that when my oldest daughter started kindergarten, I absolutely liked what I saw when I went into the classroom and volunteered. And today, that optimism still holds true. With the magic that those teachers weave when they're in their classrooms, to me, is like no other. So anytime I can actually be in the classroom is one of my favorite things. I have to say that a couple of highlights were 2 years ago, I actually got to hand that very daughter her diploma, so that was quite a moment. And I'm trying to involve myself in other things, especially in the high school, such as maybe lecturing or chaperoning, that type of thing.
Well, very good. Now, we're going to continue. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in just a minute. Hello, and welcome back. I'm Fred Rogers reporting. I am joined today by Teresa, a local public official, and we will get right back into the interview. Now, one of our first issues tonight is the issue of free and reduced lunch. Now, there are a lot of misconceptions about what it is exactly. Can you go into detail and just explain what role you have along with the school in collaboration with free and reduced lunch?
Yes, certainly, Fred. And what I can tell you is free and reduced lunch was invented or created to ensure that every child would have the opportunity to be fed or to eat prior to coming to school and again during the school day. Because we know that research shows that when a child is well fed, they'll do better academically. As a result, what we do in our school district is we have children that come from a certain social economic background that can't provide or can't pay the full cost of meals. So the statute allows for us to reduce those costs, either to completely to nothing or a very low cost. What that means is that those children get those meals. What it also means for a district is that some funding will come from the state that will allow for us to help defray the cost of feeding those children and also bring some additional revenue to the school or to the district itself. And in this case, maybe it's the district or the building will decide to use it to buy additional staff. They may use it to do a program or something, but the whole concept is to make sure that there's no child that isn't being fed while they're going to school.
Which is a very, very good thing.
A very important thing.
Now, the second issue that's sort of a hot topic now with the new presidential election is No Child Left Behind. Now, in your opinion, or the school board as a whole, do you think that it should be totally just done away with and it's over? Or just maybe have limits put on it, or just reformed a little bit, reworded in some areas?
Well, that's another great question, Fred. And what I think the board would all agree with is that the concept of don't leaving a child behind is something we certainly can embrace. We want to see every child reach their potential. We want them to do the best that they can do. And however, with No Child Left Behind, even though that there are standards in place that evaluate how well each building is doing and each school district is doing, it is so filled with so many restrictions and so many guidelines and so many methods of being testing that it seems like that's all children are doing today, is taking test after test after test.
Right.
And so I think a combination of things has to occur. And as a board, we have not discussed the whole thing. We discuss more about how does our district plan meet the needs of No Child Left Behind. I would think that we would like to see some statutes or some new laws driven so that we can change to improve how we teach kids today.
Well, and it sounds like you have a very closely knit team effort.
Absolutely.
On the board, so very good.
Very, yes.
And lastly, we just want to mention real quick, funding in schools in the district. Now, some people may complain or just bring up as an issue that there's plenty of money in the district to go around. Now, where it's distributed is a whole different issue, but to each school that gets a certain chunk of money, some people have stated that it is not spent very wisely or has been squandered on either extracurricular things or things outside of school, whereas things maybe in the classroom are needed on a higher priority.
Right.
Now, is there any excuse, not just for that, but can you explain where all that funding goes once it's in the school's hands?
Sure. I'll tell you, probably the one thing that as a school board member we get lots of questions about is how are schools financed and how come you don't have enough money and why are you asking for additional things? So it's a great question. But what I can tell you is that in Minnesota we have a constitution, and the constitution states that every child should have a free public education. And what we have in the state of Minnesota is a public school funding formula. And what that funding formula does, it allows for us to know that each child is going to get X amount of dollars and it'll go in their backpack and come right to the building that they go to school for. Well, then that school district needs to collect those monies, and then they have to make out a budget, and just like the state, we have to balance our budget every year. Well, what happens is when you get from the state X amount of dollars one year, and the next year you don't get those same dollars, then you have to figure out just exactly how you're going to balance your budget.
Right.
And what ends up occurring is school districts have to be quite creative. Maybe they have to cut certain programs, maybe they have to cut staff to try to balance that all out. What we would like to see as a board is a mechanism to sustain. That means to keep adequate funding consistent over time, so that school districts can work with the rate of inflation increases, and they can work with the higher cost and the state mandates and all of the things that keep coming down the pike. We have to be able to provide for those. So we would like to see an overhaul of the actual funding formula itself.
Well, very good. Now I'm sorry, I just got a call in real quick. Okay, we were going to wrap this up,
Okay.
Okay, I got it. Okay. We have one last, do you have time for just one more question?
I do.
Real quick?
I do.
Okay, I think I got, this was a listener that just called in, and they would like to know, in your opinion, coming from a very close-knit, school-related and local community knit, in your personal opinion, for the betterment of students, would you rather see more students in the classroom of Mr. Keith Reynolds or Mr. Thomas Hagel?
Reynolds.
What a great
Reynolds.
question. Actually, I think any student that gets the privilege of being in a class of either of those teachers is going to be that much better off. But I believe our principal at North High has allowed for students to reap the benefit of having both those teachers. So if a student wants to push themselves and go for that academic rigor, they can take AP classes with Keith Reynolds as a junior, and then select AP Government with Tom Hagel as a senior, and really come out a winner in both cases.
Well, very good. Well, I thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us tonight.
It's a pleasure to be here, Fred.
Thank you. Fred Rogers reporting. Back to you guys.
Now to order with sports. Yes.
Yeah! And out of all seriousness, last night the Gophers won a close game in men's basketball. Tubby Smith is now 1-0 with the Gophers this season, beating out number 3 Kansas 98-91 at the barn last night. 2 nights ago, as you recall, the Wild took the Stanley Cup in a shootout. Parade was yesterday downtown St. Paul, parading the Stanley Cup around. The Wolves last night lost their 44th straight game. What a heartbreaker. Final score against Dallas, 121-68. That's it for Sports Center.
Okay, we're testing our new Doppler radar system, so you have to bear with us. It's overcast, there's a full moon. We're in for snow. Back to you guys.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Steve.
I'm Brad.
And I'm Fred.
And
I'm sorry. Hold on just one quick second.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
What?
Oh.
What?
Hello? Oh,
Who is it?
I'm at work. I gotta go. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, Mom. Okay. I love you too, Mom. Okay. Okay.
Fred,
Okay.
this is most
All right,
unusual.
goodbye. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the GF. Sorry.
The what?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the AST News Network. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Brad Olson.
And I'm Steve.
Have a certain mechanism of paying for kids that do not have a mechanism of...
Okay, I'm so sorry. Can I just, for 1 second?
Certainly,
Okay, hold on.
certainly, Fred.
Hello? It's for you.
Oh! 3:50, Sarah. 20 minutes. Now, I know this is the third time I had to tell you.
And now to sports.
Thank you. Tonight in sports, as we know oh God, back it up. All right, now our last question of the night actually comes from a listener who called in just a minute ago. They would like to know, in your opinion, for the betterment of students in the classroom and in a learning atmosphere, would you rather see students more or less in the classroom and teaching environment of Mr. Keith Reynolds or Mr. Thomas Hagel?
Thomas who? I know a Jim Hansa.
All right, now wrap up your conversations, please. Okay, now you guys know that I get crabby when I ask you to do something repeatedly and you guys keep on doing it. Now, I like to be sarcastic to start, and then I have to get crabby by the end of the hour, and then I have to stop and take breaks, and it's just a huge waste of time. So, while I take attendance, I'm going to send around a homework request for last night's homework. Please only make 1 mark per student. All right, now, we want to just conclude the night by saying we have one last key question for you. It comes from many viewers out there who, in spite of everything that's gone on with the new presidential election, they would like to know, what is your opinion? Well, they just. The bottom line. What is your opinion?
Of what?
Now, before we start all this mavericky business, I'd like to say a shout out to all those students in AP Government First Hour Mr. Hagel's class. You all deserve bundles of extra credit. Thanks for making this possible.